Hey, everybody. So happy to have everyone here talking about a topic that um, I care a lot about. I'm trying to make my screen, my browser full screen. We're actually here in Leavenworth, Washington, um, which is a beautiful mountain town here in Washington. Leavenworth is kind of like the Christmas town of the United States. You may have heard of it. It's a Bavarian village that the city had decided to, basically save the town at some point by becoming Christmas Town, which is really funny. But we're all here as a team together. It was fun to be off-site here in a co-working space in Leavenworth. It's great to, if you're a hybrid or remote team, to be able to get together with your team at least once a year in person and have some fun and get some brainstorming sessions in. We did a murder mystery party last night that we constructed for our team using AI, which was really fun. We did an escape room. We had two teams, so there's kind of like this competition. So it's been really fun. But yeah, I want to hear where you are all. So in the chat, we got about 10 people in right now, which is fantastic. This is gonna be a really interesting topic. I have a lot to cover, so we're gonna get into it really soon. I'll give it maybe an extra minute, but please tell me where you're calling in from, maybe where you work, or what you care about. Tell us something about you, even if it's just where you are, or what the weather is, and we'll get started talking about how to help employees stop drowning in communication. I think we're going to cover some really interesting ideas, shifting the conversation from, why is nobody paying attention to me? Why does nobody care? To, really what's going on here? People do care actually, but we're drowning in communication. So again, I'm here in Leavenworth, Washington, in the mountains with my team. Super fun to have Jess here with me, just at the table. Kansas City, love that. Winnipeg, thanks so much for coming. Love our neighbors in the north and the south. But it's always good fun to see people in Canada, being close to Vancouver here in Washington. We're up there a lot. So it's and yeah. The World Cup was in Vancouver, which was really fun. I was there, and a lot of energy. Also here in Seattle, which was really fun. So a lot of fun energy happening with World Cup. But yeah, we're excited to jump into it. So with five in, let's just get in. So Arizona, awesome. Massachusetts, love it. Bangladesh, I love that. One of our customers is in Bangladesh, actually. Awesome. So let's jump into it. Make sure I got my screen up. Get Zoom out of the way. Okay. One second. I'm used to having a second monitor, so just give me one moment here, getting ready. So, okay. Let's see, one more try. Yeah, that is interesting. Zoom is interesting. So, okay, I'll make it work. No worries. So, again, I want to start off actually just asking a quick question. You don't even have to even answer it out loud or write it down. Just think about it. How many messages did you get today so far on SMS or Teams or Slack or email or your intranet? If it's like most people, it's probably a lot. And if you're experiencing that, so are your employees. And that's exactly what we're here to talk about today. The flood that's hitting people every single day. Here's my promise: for the next 45 minutes or so, we're going to leave you with two things, really. We're going to give you real data. So put things in front of you that you can talk to your leadership team, actual numbers. Some of it comes from telemetry rather than just surveys. So nobody can deny that. And second of all, I'm going to give you some actions you can start this week. We're going to talk about how we can help managers. We're going to talk about how we can help HR. And this won't be just a 45-minute session of communicate better platitudes. We're going to get into some specifics, and we're going to get practical. So at the end, you have a 30-day plan that can, and having a plan to get results from that 30-day plan. So that sounds good. Let's go ahead and jump into it. So a bit about me. I'm Alex Grandy. I'm the CEO of Recognize. We work with HR and people teams to build cultures of recognition, clarity, and trust, which means I spend basically every day for many years now meeting with HR leaders. And there's been something that I've noticed over the years, in conversations around engagement, morale, culture, recognition, communications, people not knowing what matters, people tune out, people miss one message that actually matters. And then it gets buried in the next 40 that didn't. right? And you're wondering why people miss that one important message. So what I'm going to share today is a mix of what I'm hearing in conversations and also some research from Microsoft, Stanford, Harvard Business Review, Gallup, KPMG, and more. So I'm going to make a claim today. There's going to be a source behind it. I'm going to give you those sources in this presentation. We're going to email this presentation to you afterwards so you can steal all the information for your own decks. Okay, so enough about me. Let's go ahead and get into the agenda. So we're going to go through basically about 7 or 8 things. And a lot of it's going to be based off of the data. So again, I'm going to show you telemetry information, not just self-reported surveys. So this can really help that skeptical executive make some changes. And then secondly is why people tune out. Third is how AI ties into this. And there's this idea now of work swap. So I'm going to get into what work swap is. What a terrible word, right? And then after that, we're going to get practical with clear messaging principles that hold up with remote and hybrid teams. Things like communication habits that can build that trust that we're really looking for. And I'm going to give you some kind of manager playbook items as well as HR playbook as well. And then what we can do in the next 30 days. Okay. So sending, okay, actually we have a poll we're going to do. This is a good time to do the poll. Okay, let's do it. So so this is all about being overloaded with communication. So I'm just curious, how overloaded do you feel with internal communication? We already got a 5. So I know, we got a handful of people here today. Let's see. So so it would be great if everyone can answer the question. Just, how overloaded are you? 1, no, you're fine, all good. 5, oh my God, I am so overloaded with communication. I'm pretty sure everyone's going to be 5. But we might as well just find out. Great, we have 6 people so far. If we can just maybe get one more person to answer, really appreciate it, just to get a little bit more data on the survey. Oh, there we go, we got 7. Let's go ahead and end the poll. We can keep going, of course, but I think it's going to be the same trend we'll see here now, which is most people are overloaded, some pretty loaded, and then, I'm overloaded, but not totally overloaded. But yeah, this is a problem. You want to have some, no, I'm not overloaded. Wouldn't that be nice to have some people who say, no, I'm not overloaded? There's probably not a single person in your company that says that. And so here's the paradox, jumping into the slide. The paradox is it's never been easier to send a message. And it's never been harder to actually be heard and actually to, and that's because the hearing, we'll get into that, but it's easy to send, hard to hear. And if you think about it, over the last decade, we've solved so many cool things around communication, but mostly around speed of sending messages. So Slack, Teams, mobile, now even AI drafting tools. So sending is different, but people understanding all the information, or they even care to, right? The thing is, people, we all want to know what is going on, right? But it's the problem where we can't, just because AI is faster at writing doesn't mean that we are now faster at understanding and have a human attention upgrade, right? And yet for every new channel we add, every new chat, email, wiki, video service, internet, none of them are replacing the other. They just get stacked one on top of the other. So now that means I have 5 places I have to check something, 5 places I can miss something. Hey, Alex, I didn't see you respond to that. No, did you see my note? Oh my gosh, it's insane. So some people, we think that people aren't working when really they're just overloaded. And now we have AI. So now it's effortless to create even more content. Now we're inundated with content. Like if you are in the hiring world, cover letters had never been longer. So here's the reframe I want you to hold on to for the rest of the session. The crisis in our organizations is not access to information. Nobody in your information is information starved, right? Everyone in your company is actually buried in information. So the crisis really is comprehension. It's knowing which 3 things in the pile of the 300 that actually matter. Everything we talk about today comes back to one shift. We don't want to solve communication clarity with more volume, more communication tools. We have a clarity problem. That's what we want to focus on. Okay, so we're going to get into a little bit of the research of this problem. So as far as real numbers, because our people feel overwhelmed, doesn't move the leadership team, but numbers often do. So Microsoft actually analyzed their Microsoft 365 usage. You have trillions of signals from real workday, real work, people's real work. And here's what they found. The average employee receives 117 emails and 153 Microsoft Team messages every single day. So that's 270 things demanding their attention before they can actually do any work. And so, and obviously this compounds with larger companies. And here's a number that generally stops me personally, is that employees on average are interrupted every 2 minutes from doing core work. So that's 275 times a day for someone that's actually interrupted two times every interrupted every 2 minutes. So I want you to let that sink in, that every 2 minutes your team is getting interrupted. So just even when was the last time your team had 10 uninterrupted minutes, let alone multiple hours? So and also meetings are now happening after 8 p.m. up by 16%. So for many, the workday just never ends anymore. And Atlassian had studied 12,000 knowledge workers and found teams spend a quarter of their week searching for information. That's a full day every week hunting for something somebody already sent. And when you add up the cost of all this, the miscommunication, the redundancy, the wasted searching, it actually comes out to being around $1 trillion or $2 trillion of lost productivity looking for information. And that is before we introduced AI, which I'm going to talk about next. Okay. Okay. So why are we hitting a breaking point now? And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that AI has dropped the cost of writing to basically zero. So think about it. So a published update used to take 20 minutes, 30 minutes to write. And that's a natural filter, right? If it's not worth 20 minutes of my time, it wasn't going to get sent out. Now the same update takes 10 seconds to generate. So the filter is gone and way more information is being sent. Secondly, hybrid work adds channels on top of old ones. So we rarely, let's just be honest, we rarely decommission a communication channel. We just keep stacking, as I mentioned before. And a third reason, and I'm curious if you agree with me on this one, but visibility output becomes how we judge communication. Sent an update, great, you communicated. You are seen, and thus you are productive, right? That green dot in Microsoft Teams or Slack. That's why Microsoft found 1 in 3 employees say that the pace of work over the last 5 years has become impossible to keep up with. 60% of the meetings are now ad hoc, unplanned, thrown on the calendar same day, and the whole system runs on one big interruption now. That's why this year is a tipping point. So what do people do when they're drowning? They stop swimming. And that's what's happening now. Okay, so people are tuning out, and in fact, up to 71% of employees don't read company emails. Think about the last all staff email you sent personally. You worked hard on it, right? You wordsmithed it, you got approval, you sent a perfectly optimized time. Statistically, most of your employees may have never even opened it. But it's not totally about volume. When researchers dig into this, employees happily engage with messages that are timely, useful, and specific to them. What they tune out on is that repetitive stuff, the generic messages, the messages that aren't clearly written for them in mind and have nothing to do with their actual job. In other words, people aren't ignoring communication. They're running on what feels irrelevant to them. I'm sorry, they're ignoring what is irrelevant to them and thus protecting their time, essentially, is what they're trying to do. So it's not that they're disengaged or don't want to work at your company. It's that they're just trying to get through their day and be as productive as possible and filter out all the noise that's coming in. But the problem with that is that they may be tuning out some of the important information too. And we're going to talk about how to communicate more effectively in this session. But the second pattern that we're seeing is that when messages get flagged, messages are getting flagged as urgent all the time. So if everything's being flagged as urgent, nothing is urgent. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And here's something that you can do today. Before you hit send on the next group message, right, or all company message, ask yourself 3 questions. Who needs to act on it? What are they going to act on? And by when? And if you can answer nobody, nothing, never, or any of those three, maybe the message doesn't need to be sent to everybody. Maybe it doesn't need to go out at all. So that one filter applied consistently can change everything downstream. And then people will respect you more, right? The more effective you are in communication, actually less is more, oftentimes. Awesome. Moving right along, good timing. All right, so so alignment with the illusion of alignment. This is really interesting. So ask leaders whether their employees are aligned with the company goals, and 27% say yes, they're fully aligned. But then you ask the employees themselves, and only 9% agree. So that's a 3-to-1 reality gap happening in companies. And the reason I think that's happening is that, yes, the leaders are engaged in the town hall. They're reading the follow-up emails at Slack post, but are the employees? 56% say they only get to key project information by physically asking the person or booking a meeting. Only 20% feel confident in their team's process for sharing decisions. And Grammarly, which I personally love, Grammarly is great. Grammarly found that literally 100% of knowledge workers experience miscommunication at least weekly. But I think often a quarter of them actually experience it multiple times a day, a miscommunication. Like, what was that about? That kind of experience. I think we all know what that's like. What do I believe that can help fix this? I mean, there's no silver bullet, but what I think really, really can help is they have a single source of truth. So every major initiative has one page, the decision, the owner, and the key dates, a link that everyone knows about. Where the answer lives, it's always permanently in this one place, not across 5 different channels you have to be searching. When you give people a place to look for something, just one well-maintained page is way better than a bunch of emails with spoon-feeding information. So rather just create a link and training people to go to that one place and creating a better employee experience. Making it so that the documentation is easy to consume is really important. All right. We have another poll that I'd love to do if this is a good time. Jess, perfect. Jade's doing it. Nice. Jess is on her cell phone. So I'm like, how did she do that? So what communication tools are you using? So you can select multiple. It's curious, are you using, I actually took out some of them that I was going to add. I thought the list was getting pretty long. So I cut out some ones that maybe not as common. But look at that, 80% so far, 4 out of 5 people using Microsoft Teams. We see some SharePoint usage, 1% using Slack, 1% using Confluence. We're using Notion at our company. It's pretty incredible what it can do. You can create forms, you can create Kanbans, you can create lists and notes. With Notion, every document is a folder. So it's a really, really incredible tool that's becoming the darling of Silicon Valley. My heart goes out to the people using Google Drive. I find it really hard to navigate the folder system, but incredible tools like the Google Docs spreadsheet, and then poor Zoom. They're really trying hard to step out of video and offer more things like Docs. But yeah, so we're using multiple tools. Most people will be using the Microsoft 365 stack, really interesting results. So thanks for sharing all that. Okay. So let's move on to now this trust problem. So tell me if this is familiar in your chat, right? Noise builds up, a message gets missed, and then mistakes happen. And then if mistakes happen, then probably deadlines slip, work gets duplicated, someone gets blindsided, mistakes happen, so leadership gets nervous and sends more messages, more reminders, more all hands, more per my last email, so to speak. And this creates more noise, and it goes around and around. And the really cruel part of all this natural instinct of, people missed it, so send it again, send it louder, send it across 3 channels. And that's what's making it actually worse. You can't email your way out of a problem caused by too much email. So now we can actually quantify the damage. Gallinger surveyed over 1,300 communications and HR professionals across 40 countries. And they found that the high volume communication environments show a 30% increase in leadership trust risk and 24% higher audience burnout. Layer that on top of Gallup's numbers, 1 in 3 employees strongly agree that they trust their organization's leadership, and 29% say they lack clear, honest, consistent communication from leaders. So if you take exactly one slide from today into your next executive meeting, make it this one. The message to your leadership should be simple. More volume measurably erodes their trust in the leadership. And what we can do is we can talk about how we can make this better. But I'm going to talk a little bit more about how AI is causing this as well. So AI, again, has made writing effortless, which is absolutely incredible. Anyone now in your organization can generate a polished, professional sounding update in seconds. If you have any interns, it's pretty incredible getting an intern's status update and it reads like a McKinsey memo. And on the surface, this is amazing, right? It's a productivity win. But the problem is we still all have to read it. Content volume is growing faster than the time available to consume it, and reading time is fixed. Attention is one resource we cannot scale. The effort didn't disappear, it moved. It moved from the writer to the reader now. When someone generates a 5-paragraph update in 10 seconds, instead of thinking for 20 minutes on how it actually matters, they save 20%, and they save 20 minutes, and every one of the readers now has to spend extra time trying to extract the point. I think I have definitely gotten, we'll talk about more, but I've definitely gotten some AI slop, and we'll talk about what that means. And then you're like, what is this? I mean, I've literally said to somebody, just send me the prompt that you use to create this. Ease of production is not ease of comprehension, right? So Gallagher's research showed 75% of communication functions are just experimenting with AI. So as organizations, we've deployed the volume machine at full speed without deploying any of the brakes. And it feels like we're just getting started. So I'm going to talk about actually the real costs of this. So, the AI generated content that you read that has nothing even said, right? Just talking. You're like, what are they really trying to say here? I think we've all received an AI slop. If you have AI slop is this idea of AI generated content that masquerades as good work. And I'm sure some of you even sent it yourselves. So don't worry, safe space, no judgment here. We've all done it. But it's all about getting better at it. The exciting thing right now, even at the best tech companies, is they're the same playing field as us. We're all learning AI together at the very beginning on how to, best practices. Just like when we all got smartphones, all the new best practices we had to develop there, and the idea of phubbing when someone's trying to talk to you and you just start browsing Instagram. These kind of social faux pas that we're learning. But here's the numbers: 41% of full-time employee U.S. workers received work slop from some colleague in the last month. I think we know what it's like to get one of these, right? It can take an hour to figure out what the person's even trying to say. And it's really awkward. And if you do the math, they've actually found that it costs right now, and I'm sure this number is going to go up, $186 per employee per month from this AI slop. And again, it's going to get worse. So if you're a 10,000 person company, that's around $9 million each year wasted. And 53% of people are annoyed to receive slop. 22% they were actually offended. I felt that way. And about half view the sender as less creative, less capable, and less reliable afterwards. So think about what that means. The time AI saved the writer gets paid back by the reader with interest, and then the sender pays a second time in credibility. And here's a twist in the AI story. KPMG and the University of Melbourne surveyed 48,000 people across 47 countries, the biggest study of its kind. 57% of employees hid their AI use and present AI work as their own. 2/3 of AI users admit that they rely on outputs without checking them for accuracy. And almost half have pasted potentially sensitive company information into public AI tools. Now, it's easy to get judgmental on all this, but we should look at a little bit more about why, right? Always do 5 whys. So only 47% of employees have received any AI training. 40% say that their workforce, only 40% has an AI policy. So people are hiding their AI use because nobody even told them the rules, right? That's not a character failure. It's a governance failure, and we want to fix that. So this is in HR territory, and we're going to talk more about that. So I want to do a quick reality check for those with remote teams as well. Everything I talk about here gets amplified when your teams are distributed. In the office, communication has a built-in safety net. We don't really ever notice this, right? Until it's gone. You get a confusing email, we'll catch up with the sender at the coffee machine. Or, you got a weird tone in a message, we see their face in the hallway and you realize they were just rushed. So all these little informal repairs happen constantly and instantly, invisibly, and it's free. But that net is gone when the time zone turn a 30-second question into a 24-hour round trip in response, right? And these long Slack or Teams messages can get really heated for no reason. You just got to get on the phone, right? I'm going to talk a little bit about when and how to use different technology mediums. But I just want to point out that none of this means that, remote work is broken. I don't believe that at all because, we're a remote team and there's a lot of benefits to it. What I mean is that the writing quality has been promoted. It's not just a nice to have anymore. It needs to be a core infrastructure since everything is done in writing, especially in a remote team. Awesome. So let's see where we're at. Doing good here. May need to speed up a little bit. Okay, so this is what I'm pretty interested in is, again, so clear writing, everything's a skill. Empathy is a skill. Everything's a learnable skill. Most people aren't really born with knowing how to write good status updates for the company. So here's 5 principles that I think can help people write better. The first one is lead with so what. In the very first line, what is going on? And then tell a backstory later, right? In the military, they call this BLUF, bloof, bottom up front. And you can teach this to your team actually only in 30 minutes. You can just go online and Google BLUF, and it tells you how to teach this to your team. But the point is you want to say what's going on up front, and then you can tell the backstory second. And if you bury an action request inside a general status update, the action does not happen, right? So be clear on the messaging, and then be specific. So names, dates, owners, next steps. Someone should be looking at this, right? That kind of thing. Like somebody should be looking at this. Nobody's going to do it, right? Vague messages or thinking people are just going to jump in and take over something that you've started is not going to happen. So to be very, very clear, have owners. And the last one thing I want to mention here, I have a couple more actually, is I want to mention skimming. So write for skimming. People are going to skim. It's okay. Stop fighting it. Just design for it, right? Short paragraphs, headers, bold. I'm a huge bolder. Bold something in an email or a message so people can actually skim it. Try labeling. Action, decision, FYI, put that in a separate line, and people can sort through their inbox much more effectively, or in that message on Slack or Teams. And then people can triage. That's important. Okay, a couple things around the medium. I mentioned that before. So is it urgent? Is it personal? Then pick up the phone. Create a huddle in Slack. Like see the person, hear their voice. Don't get into a long, Slack, Teams or Slack message exchange. If it's important with a lot of context, write a structured update, right? Maybe it needs to be an email, and then you tell in Teams, hey, I wrote you an email, right? So then they can look at it when they want to, and it's not part of the thread of communication. But if it's a low stakes FYI, right? Don't mention anyone. Don't do the @ symbol. Don't interrupt them. It doesn't warrant an interruption. And then it communicates to them how important it is, and they can get to it when they want to get to it. If you need a decision, you should document with a deadline and a named owner, right, in your wiki. Atlassian found that 77% of workers said that they frequently have meetings that end with the decision to have another meeting, right? That's not cool. So here's a concrete move. Publish a 1-page channel charter. Which channel is for what? If you don't have this, you should do it. Or if you already have one, review it. What is expected response time? Slack may mean a few hours. Email may mean a day. Whatever fits your culture. At our company, you can respond within 24 hours in Slack. We may bump that up to 8 hours or 16 hours or something. You don't want to be too pushy, but you do want communication to keep moving along. But again, if you don't need a response anytime soon, one thing that we do is you can have a section of notes in between you and somebody else in Slack or in Teams. So you can be like, hey, I updated the sheet of things I want to discuss. So then it doesn't feel like it has to be responded to immediately and cause that 2-minute interruption. But make it explicit, make that charter, make it clear, put that in your wiki so everyone knows what it is, to reduce that communication anxiety. But yeah, when employees go quiet, it's probably because they're overloaded, not necessarily because they're disengaged or they're indifferent. People stop reading way before they stop caring, right? So when your open rates drop, the correct interpretation isn't, nobody cares. Maybe there's too much noise. And those are very different problems and different fixes. So build an actual listening infrastructure. So pulse surveys, AMAs with leadership, office hours, skip level conversations, anything that turns that broadcast into a dialogue. We should be measuring not did I send it, but did it land? Is it understood? That's what's really important, right? So the new question one question that'd be cool to put in your pulse survey, if you have those, is do you know what your top priority is this month? The answer to that single question will tell you more about your communication health than anything else around open or even click rate. Now, the fastest trust building I know to really help close that loop publicly is you said X, we did Y, right? That's really important, is making sure that what we say and when we ask, we actually do something. So if you're going to ask something in the survey, be prepared to do something about it. Okay, so employees actually trust their direct manager's voice way more than the company, right? The CEO's all hand might get skimmed, but the manager saying, here's what this actually means to our team, that gets read. That's remembered and acted on. Gallagher found that 87% of communication professionals call manager communication capacity a significant risk. So the most trusted channel in your company is also the one that's least supported. So share this with your leadership and your managers. These are 5 things will help managers be more effective with their teams. But I'm not going to go over them here. You can read it. And also we're going to send the notes afterwards. Yeah, so we're going to move a little bit quicker to the end. I'm excited to get to any Q&A that we've had. I've not been following the chat, but I'm looking forward to looking at that. Have there been any questions yet? Okay, great. Managers that are masters at communication, they see an 18% engagement lift on their team. So here's 5 things that managers should stop doing. Things like forwarding emails without context, or communicating only when there's a problem. Like if you get a message from your manager and they're like, hey, got a second, does that strike fear in your heart? I mean, obviously they should say, hey, you got a second, I want to talk about X. But ideally, if you have a good relationship with your manager, you don't have that feeling. And if you do, that's a psychological safety problem that you should look into. Also, stop sending unedited AI responses. Nobody wants that. They could do the prompt themselves. So instead, we should be translating company messages for the team. We should be editing AI, still using it from a research perspective, and confirm the team actually understands the messages rather than just receiving them. So here's some things that you can do in HR. So this is an easy thing to do. That's really fun, actually. Maybe fun for me. Maybe I'm weird. But run a communication audit. So inventory every recurring email, newsletter, all hands, all your channels, all your different channels for communication from Salesforce. SharePoint to Teams to Google Drive. Check the actual engagement. Things that are under 30%, if people aren't engaging in it, remove it. Right? Because there's going to be more later. We all know that keep stacking. So every once in a while, you got to do spring cleaning. Like once a year, do spring cleaning. And then the other thing to do, as I mentioned, is around their channels, is have that communication charter. What are their channel norms? What's response time expectations? When is it okay to at somebody? Right? When are quiet hours? People should be allowed to send messages anytime they want, but it's on the employees to say, hey, I'm muted. I'm not receiving notifications, and that's okay. That's okay in this culture. There's a lot of things we can be doing around these types of tips around communication to make things a lot more effective. I had an employee who had, they were responding to every single thing. And I had to say, what's going on? How are you responding to everything? It's like, well, I get dinged every message that's sent on Slack. I'm like, oh my gosh. So we went into settings and we turned that off. That's another thing. Make sure that your employees know the settings, know that they need to turn off communication notifications for every single thing that happens. And then the last thing is govern the calendar. Your HR, set the standards. Make default meeting times, maybe 25 minutes and 50 minutes. Require agendas. Make it okay culturally to decline a meeting if you give a reason. And it's going to add a huge bump to productivity if every meeting has an agenda, every meeting is set to a certain time, and you're allowed to not go. So wouldn't it be amazing to have a no meeting day? If you have a no meeting day, put one in the chat. I've been moving towards that. If you want it, make it a reality. Make it a reality for your team. Show the success. Get other teams on board. Maybe get the whole company on. No meetings Tuesday. Can you imagine how unproductive and happy you'd be if you had no meetings Tuesday? It's almost like having a day off where you don't have to be in meetings. You can just heads down focus. And in fact, Microsoft found that clustering meetings, having agendas, and protecting those deep work blocks made bad days decrease by 25%. So I think that's huge. Awesome. Moving right along here, getting towards the end. Again, you want to make that AI policy and do that training. Set the norms of AI, and you want to start now because it's not going away. And help managers. Give them a toolkit. Teach them how to communicate. Give them trainings. Provide templates and kits before announcements so that then the managers have talking points. They know how to then talk about it with their team. And Gallup found an 18% team engagement gain when managers are trained on communication. So that's a huge bump, a huge improvement you can create. You don't need to give them highly special training or anything. It's just how to communicate, how to be empathetic, how to know how to check in. Awesome. So we want to make this real. We don't want to just have a webinar and then go off on our day. We want to do something, right? So in the next 30 days, a lot of times in these webinars, I try to have these 30-day plans. So here's what you can do each week. And you can literally start today or you can start on Monday. So the first thing to do is just backing up, audit your inventory, audit your channels, kill what's not needed, kill what's not read. It's all about subtraction, actually. And I trust you, trust me, nobody will miss the channels that you remove. And then the second week is charter. So publish those norms if you don't already have that, or update them, review them. Give suggestions like action versus FYI labeling. What is AI at your company? What does it look like? How do you use it? Have one page, no more than one page. Put that in your wiki. Have it be clear and part of your training. Reinforce it. A decent charter shipped in 2 weeks beats a perfect one shipped next quarter, right? Done is better than perfect, and you can always iterate and change. That's a beautiful thing. And then the third week is a bit more on managers, right? So do a manager training, ship your first toolkit so that they can actually use it in a real announcement. Next time you do a real announcement, make sure to have a manager toolkit sent ahead of time, how they can talk about that with their team. And then the last week, listen and learn. Launch a pulse survey. Ask that question. Do you know your top priority of this month? Compare it to previous months and report those metrics to the leadership if you see a difference. And you'll see in this plan, the first 2 weeks is HR, and then we get into managers in the second week. And then at the very end, we want to be able to measure ideally if we've had any impact. A month may be too short for this. You may need a couple of months or even a quarter to really fully flesh it out and then see an actual result in the survey. Awesome. So I plan to talk through this in about 45 minutes. I did skip a couple of things I thought were a little bit less important, but I really hope that you appreciate all the information. Do one thing today or tomorrow, create that checklist. And let's see if you have any questions. By the way, I have the sources in the next slide. We'll be sending over this after the call if it was interesting to you. I know we do have one final poll, so please don't head out too early. We do have a poll to see how I did in this presentation. We do this about every week. Next week is really cool. We're having our guest speaker, Corey Capelle. He's really cool. He's the founder of Core Coaching and Consulting. He's an HR leader. We're going to be having an interview conversation with him. I think you're going to really love that. It's on Tuesday, July 14th. There goes my no meeting Tuesday, right? But yeah, no, please come to that. It's at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Glad that people are finding it useful, relevant, and oh my gosh, thank you. I'm always just really striving for no yawns and no confusion. That's really all I can ask for. But I really hope that you found it. I'm really happy that you found it useful, relevant, and oh my gosh. And please come to that next webinar that's coming up. I'll share the results in this. And I want to touch on that we do a live demo every month. So I run a program called Recognize. It's employee recognition. It's for rewards. We work with communication teams. We work with HR teams. And we help make the company a better place. We help communicate what wins look like in the organization. And we've been doing this for over 10 years. We work with a lot of big companies. We work with companies internationally, hybrid teams, local teams. So if you're driving a certain mission, or maybe you have an acquisition recently, or you want to increase retention or engagement, or maybe you're tired of managing your ad hoc recognition program, or you have no idea how much money your managers are spending on spot bonuses, having a recognition tool, having a gamification platform around the values of the organization, the initiatives of the company can be really awesome. It adds gamification, adds fun, it makes work more interesting. And it actually allows your employees to know what the values are. But having a one-on-one meeting can be annoying or stressful, or you have to feel like you have to pay attention all the time. Whereas this, you can come to a group demo with David, with Jess. You'll actually have a really good chance of winning a gift card for $100. We're not going to do that for much longer because we have people coming with or without the gift card. And so please come to that. Take advantage of trying to get that gift card. You have a good chance of winning, because sometimes we just have 20 or 30 people come. So of the 30 people, you could win a gift card. Plus we have rewards. We do gift cards. We have live events, concert tickets, swag, and people can redeem these things with the points they earn from having a work anniversary, or from a challenge, or from a recognition. And those rewards, again, can go into, gift cards in Canada, or in Bangladesh, or in the United States. And so what we do is we give you $1,000 to start for that if you sign up with us for a subscription. And subscriptions with Recognize are pretty reasonable, depending on how many employees you have. The more employees you have, the less per user it is by cost. But hey, we can go into that in the demo, so please join that. You can always reach out to me. Is that the last slide? But we'll go back here. You can always reach out to me. I'm Alex Grandy, alex@recognizeapp.com. And let me go back. I can just remind people who I am. Again, alex@recognizeapp.com. It was so nice to talk to you in this 45-minute session. I'm super passionate about this conversation. I'd love to talk to you about these things. No sales pressure or anything like that. Just want to learn and talk with HR leaders. So, but yeah, we're going to be sending over the slides after the call. And I hope everyone has a wonderful Thursday afternoon. Thanks again.